For most Americans, home was supposed to be safety. A place to sleep without fear. A place to raise a family. But behind the walls of the U.S. housing market, something dark is growing. Property prices are rising faster than people's income. Debt is piling up. Banks are pretending everything is fine. But deep inside the system, a $23 trillion problem is forming. And if it breaks, millions could lose their homes, their savings, even their retirement. Right now, many Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Some are working 2 jobs just to cover rent. The dream of owning a home feels impossible. And every day, people are asking the same question. Why is this happening? Who is controlling this? Is the American housing market actually real? Or is it a trap designed to collapse? In this video, we're going to walk into the truth behind the $23 trillion property bubble in America, and why experts fear it could bankrupt the entire country. Welcome to Crypto Brain Power. This channel teaches beginners about the U.S. stock market, historical lessons, market evolution, and how real wealth has always been built through education and long-term mindset. We break down complicated financial stories into simple language so anyone can learn, grow, and build financial awareness. If you want future videos covering another stock market topic, comment your topic below. Subscribe to support the channel and continue learning with us. To understand what is happening today, we need to step back and look at how the U.S. property market became a $23 trillion machine. For most of the past century, owning a house in America was considered safe. It was not about profit. It was not about flipping. It was about having a roof, a yard, and a life. But slowly, the American home stopped being a shelter and started becoming a financial asset. After World War II, the United States changed forever. Cheap loans, government programs, and rapid population growth created a housing boom. Neighborhoods spread across the country. Homeownership became the symbol of middle-class success. But something else happened. Banks realized homes could make them rich. They discovered that if they packaged mortgages together and sold them to Wall Street, they could turn families into numbers and numbers into billions. By the early 2000s, the U.S. real estate market had exploded. People believed prices could never fall. Mortgage companies pushed loans onto anyone who asked. Then in 2008, everything collapsed. The U.S. housing market crashed under its own lies. Millions lost their homes. The U.S. economy fell into one of the deepest recessions in modern history. And even though Americans promised never to repeat those mistakes, the same patterns are returning today. Only this time, the numbers are bigger, the stakes are higher, and the market is more complex. Today, the U.S. property market is valued at $23 trillion. Prices are rising even as incomes stagnate. Houses are being bought by corporations instead of families. Wall Street firms are becoming landlords. And regular people are being priced out of the market completely. Platforms like Robinhood, Fidelity, and Charles Schwab make investing in stocks easy, but buying a home is now nearly impossible for millions. The median U.S. home price has reached record highs while wages and savings have barely moved. According to national data, the average young American needs decades just to save for a down payment. That dream of a first home, the core of American identity, is fading. Why is this happening? Part of the answer lies with the Federal Reserve. After the 2008 crash, the Fed lowered interest rates to near zero. Money became cheap. Investors borrowed billions and poured that money into real estate. Then came the pandemic. Rates fell again, printing trillions into the economy. Demand exploded. Home prices surged. Investors bought properties in bulk. And ordinary families got pushed aside. People turned to platforms, hoping stocks could replace the income they could not earn through housing. Apple, Tesla, and Amazon became lifelines to the middle class. U.S. markets went vertical. The S&P 500 rallied. And for a brief moment, it felt like everyone could win. But cheap money always ends with a price. As inflation rose, the Federal Reserve began increasing interest rates. Suddenly, mortgages doubled in cost. First-time buyers disappeared. Sellers pulled listings off the market. And the housing system grew quiet, but dangerously unstable. A storm was forming. The U.S. jobs report began showing cracks. Consumer spending weakened. CPI inflation reports showed that prices for food and rent were not falling as fast as expected. Americans were drowning under basic costs, and housing became the biggest burden of all. The $23 trillion property market is now supported by one fragile idea. that prices will keep rising forever. That belief is the fuel, and that belief is the danger. Because when people believe assets never fall, they stop worrying about risk. Real estate funds are using borrowed money to buy thousands of homes. Mortgage-backed securities are rising again. And banks, once more, are heavily exposed to real estate values. If prices fall just 10 or 20%, trillions in loans could collapse. Pension funds could be damaged. State budgets could suffer. Banks could tighten credit. And regular Americans would feel the pain first. Imagine a family working ordinary jobs. They saved for years. They finally bought a home at the top of the market because they believed America always grows. Suddenly interest rates rise. Their mortgage becomes unaffordable. Property values drop. They owe more than their house is worth. They panic. They try to sell, but no buyers appear. This is not imagination. It happened in 2008, and it can happen again. Some experts warn that America is building a massive housing class divide. Investors own homes, renters pay forever. A landlord nation. One where wealth flows to the top, while the bottom half struggles just to survive. The danger is not just price collapse. It is confidence collapse. If Americans lose belief in real estate stability, the entire system weakens. The stock market reacts. Companies like Apple and Amazon depend heavily on consumer strength. Tesla depends on borrowing power. When housing weakens, everything connected to American spending weakens. This is why long-term perspective matters. A market crash does not mean America ends. It means cycles happen. It means education matters more than emotion. It means beginners must understand economic forces instead of chasing quick profits or listening to hype. Long-term investors study history. They look at the S&P 500 over decades, not days. They learn patience. They avoid emotional trading on platforms like Robinhood. They diversify carefully using platforms such as Fidelity or Charles Schwab. They stay calm when Federal Reserve meetings shake the market. They understand that every CPI update does not define their future. America has survived recessions, oil shocks, wars, inflation waves, and stock market crashes. It grows, it struggles, it rebuilds, it rises. But what we face today in the housing market is more than numbers. It is a moral question. Is housing a human right or a Wall Street product? Should families compete with billion-dollar investors just to live somewhere? Should the American dream cost more than Americans can earn? These are questions we must ask now, before pressure becomes collapse. Will the property market crash completely? No one knows. No one can predict it. Real estate depends on policy, interest rates, global capital, wages, demographics, and politics. That uncertainty is exactly why we talk about risk. If you learn one thing from this video, let it be this. Never make financial decisions based on fear or excitement. Study history. Study data. Study long-term patterns. And remember the truth no one wants to say out loud. Most people lose money not because the market failed, but because they acted without education. Right now, America stands at a crossroads. Housing is changing forever. What used to be a safe path to the middle class has become a battlefield between ordinary workers and institutional money, but knowledge gives power. Awareness gives strength. Education gives control. The more you understand how the U.S. economy works, how interest rates shape prices, how inflation pressures households, how job data affects spending, the more prepared you are to face uncertainty. Whether the property market slowly deflates, crashes violently, or stabilizes, one truth will always remain. Long-term financial growth comes from patience, discipline, and learning, not from chasing hype or believing promises. Thank you for watching the story behind America's $23 trillion housing dilemma. This video is only for educational purpose, not financial advice.